Hi guys, my name is Jen. I am currently taking this class as a prereq for nursing school programs because I hope to become a registered nurse and then hopefully get into public health and administration. And since I'm really interested in disease and infection control, I hope to be more in the epidemiology side of public health. So the word that I got for the discussion part A is interstitial fluid. So just to break down, show my little breakdown of the word, we have the prefix, the root, the suffix, and then this word forms an adjective to describe the type of fluid it is. And I'll go ahead and just break down each word part a little bit more and explain it. So the prefix is inter, which means in between. So right now we have something that's in between. Between what yet? We're not quite sure. So the root of the word is this, which actually comes from the Latin word sistere, which means to stand, to set, or to place. So right now we have something that stands in between, but again, yet we're not quite sure what it stands in between yet. And then to make it an adjective, we have the suffix al, which means pertaining to. So we have something that pertains to something that stands in between. So when we combine everything together to get the definition of what interstitial fluid is, we have a fluid in the body that rests or stands in between the body's cells and tissues. So an example, show a little picture. An example of interstitial fluid is intracellular fluid. So right here we have all these cells. These little blue things are the nuclei. And then all of this, the interstitial fluid, would be all this fluid that floats around in between the cells and the tissues that the cells form. So that's what interstitial fluid is. So it's basically all the other fluid in the body that's not blood or plasma. So I don't know, the way that I kind of thought of how to remember what the word is interstitial. Kind of sounds like interstitial fluid to me. So basically it's like the fluid that sits between the cells and the tissues. Even though it technically doesn't sit, it kind of floats around. So that is interstitial. If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment, or if you have any ideas about better ways to remember the word, that'd be great. Alright, so for part B, the phrase that I was given was an inanimate object that can spread disease. So I knew this from microbiology because we had learned about it when we talked about disease and epidemiology in the class. And an inanimate object that can spread disease is also known as a fomite. So fomite, so my definition of a fomite is it's a non-living item. So right here, a non-living item that carries bacteria, parasites, or fungal infections, and then the key word there is non-living, because if you have a living item, it becomes a vector, and that's like a whole nother form, a whole nother way that disease can spread. But since we're focusing on inanimate objects or non-living items, we have a fomite, and a fomite can spread disease to from one individual to another. So examples, I wanted to give some examples. Examples include baby rattles. So say I was a sick baby and I'm playing and sucking on my rattle, and then another baby comes along and steals that rattle. They would then get my germs that were on the rattle and it would be transferred to them. Same thing goes for needles, doorknobs. If you have a carrier that touches the doorknob, now that doorknob becomes a fomite and carries that bacteria, parasite, or whatever else the infection was. Even cell phones carry. So those are just a few. Those are just a few items that can be fomites. There's tons out there. So especially for those going into the medical field, this is really important for you in hospitals, because a lot of medical equipment, if it's not sterilized correctly, can be fomites and spread infections throughout hospitals. So breaking down the word, I had a little difficulty again because it wasn't really in our textbook. But a fomite consists of the root, which is foam, which comes actually from the Latin word fomes, which means tinder. And then ite is the suffix, which means the nature of or resembling tinder. So if you go literally from the translation, a fomite is something that resembles tinder. And so I was reading a little bit about the first person that wrote about fomites. So his idea was that foams not necessarily mean tinder specifically. It's any item. So like I said, like this pen could be a fomite that carries the infection on it. So like let's go with staph, because that's pretty common. So say this pen was infected with staph. By using it, I'm getting the staph myself, and then if I lend it to a friend, they're also getting the staph. So the idea is that this object is like tinder, and it, like, the infection catches on like fire. So it just spreads like a wildfire. So hopefully that makes sense for you guys. So I just wanted to, in thinking about the word and maybe making a little bit more sense, maybe an easier way for you to remember what fomite is, I drew this little picture. So I just went with my baby rattle because it's the easiest one to draw. But so say my baby rattle is my fomite, and like I said, I'm a sick baby and I was slobbering all over it. So now my cold or whatever infection I have, I used bacteria in this example, is all over the rattle. So we have this bacteria that's on the rattle. So the bacteria is a foe. And then this foe uses all its might. So we have really strong bacteria to infect the next individual. So you have a foe might right there. Hopefully that helps you guys. If it makes any sense at all, and if you have any suggestions or any comments, please feel free to comment. I would love to hear them. Thanks, and good luck on your exams, everyone.